So we saw like back on the mint here, these are the default fields. So in order to introduce like a picture and a symbol and a title and all these other things, you need to create an account for metadata. And this follows a metadata standard provided by Metaplex, which we will also see in the code. But the point is, it's another separate account and it points to the mint and it describes all of the associated metadata for it. And this is a standard across Solana, which is why explorers will be able to load this metadata and you can see it. So pretty cool stuff. So let's take a look at this stuff in code and we'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And then we'll even look up some of this stuff on the Explorer as well. Looking at questions real quick. Do I have good references for token 2022? At the moment, anything outside of like the docs that they wrote for 2022, I don't have. But I can maybe circle back to this later on. So anywho, going to our scripts again, you can see that we've got tokens here as well. So let's take a look at a couple different functions. So if you look, here's the different functions that our script is going to do. So we're going to use create account again. And these are just going to be some test wallets that we're going to work with. And then we're going to create a new token with 9 decimals. And that's going to be an SPL token. We've got a title, we've got a symbol, and then we've got this JSON that I'm pointing to, which this is where you would put like IPFS or like Arweave, which are like file storage sites, like clusters, where you would point to your data being hosted there. In my case, I just have it hosted on GitHub, and you could do that by just putting it in your repo like this. And then once you push it to your repo, you can just reference it with the raw data like this. So kind of a neat trick for testing. But that's what I'm doing for both of these. And then you can see here, I'm also creating a token as an NFT, which is going to be 0 decimals. Now, notice I put these in the same function. It's because both are tokens. Both of them are SPL tokens. But because they have different decimal places, they are going to be different types of tokens. And when I actually pass in the mint, you can see down here when we're minting with the mint, this is one example of how to do it. You can do this a number of different ways, but I'm going to mint 1 to my wallet, and then I'm going to disable minting like I talked about earlier. So here's minting 2. We're introducing new tokens to the supply and we're minting them to somebody's wallet. And then here's a transfer. So we're going to transfer 10 tokens or we're going to transfer that NFT. So we'll see what those look like. To start, creating a token, I wrote again about the decimal places. Creating a token looks like this. So we first want to create an account for the mint, right? And again, I'm passing the mint in as a parameter like we saw previously. So same step as creating a normal account, right? We still have to have an account on chain where this mint is going to live. The difference though is look who owns this particular mint, the token program, not the system program. That's because the token program needs to have the authority to be able to change this account. So because we're making it the token program, the owner, that is one of the requirements for it to be a valid mint. Another thing too is we're allocating the size of this account's inner data to fit that mint information, which we saw here in the slide. You got to be able to have enough space for this stuff. So that's what the mint size constant is for. And obviously we're grabbing the rent again, like we saw before. And then here is a good example actually of packaging multiple instructions into one transaction. You can see there's all 3 right there. So we'll get to that in a sec. Here we're going to initialize the mint. This is going to write the data to that inner data. This is going to write these fields into the account, right? And set it as initialized, which is what this top field is saying. So that's the instruction to do that. That instruction is to the token program. This function comes from the SPL token library, and it'll package it up for you. So you're not actually telling it it's for the token program, but it's being done under the hood for you. So that's pretty cool. And then finally, when you do the metadata, you're going to create metadata. This instruction is again provided by a function, but this one comes from Metaplex, who is in charge of the metadata standard on Solana. So you can see that they have a function as well that will give us the necessary instruction to create metadata. The tricky part is their function takes in these big objects, and it's a little bit trickier. You can see that like the two Solana ones are just these like straight up fields, but this one takes, these are the accounts and these are the arguments. And the reason it's set up like this is because the concept of metadata using Metaplex on Solana goes well beyond the scope of this tutorial. I'm just showing you the basic fields to get like a title, a symbol, and a picture. But there's way more stuff that you can add. Like you can see I have null for creators and I have 0 seller fee basis points or royalties. There's other stuff that you can add as well. You can create collections. There's tons of different versions of this metadata. So, you know, something to note is it looks complex because there's a lot of expanding you can do on this. Like you can add more accounts, you can add more arguments. Pretty cool stuff. You can also make your metadata mutable, which is interesting. But in this case, this is the default for just getting the simple stuff. And you can see here, this is how you derive the address for a metadata account. And this is important. This is a hash using the program ID of the metadata program, the string metadata, the metadata program ID, and your mint's address. Now, the reason you do this is because this is the pattern. And if you don't get this right, the program will throw an error and yell at you. This is how the account knows what mint it's for, because it's being used right here, right? So even though none of this data has our mint in it, it's being used right here and also here. But you can see that this is used to create the actual address of the metadata. And then things like wallets can use this same function to get the metadata for your NFT. And that's how that works. That's called a PDA, and that goes a little bit beyond the scope of this tutorial as well. But this is the hash function that is used to create those. So building a transaction with all those instructions, we got a list of all 3 of those right here. And then we go ahead and send that transaction. And the cool thing is when you include multiple instructions, it will execute them in order. So we're going in this order. Create the account, write the mint data, create the metadata account, right? And since we include them in that order, that's the order that they operate, which is pretty cool. So once that's done, we'll be getting a new token. And then here we're minting to a wallet, which just means we're creating new tokens. So you can see again, using some SDK functions to create these instructions. So this is key here, right? Like we talked about token accounts, and we have to actually make sure that they exist before we can try to like transact with them. So this function get or create will do exactly that. It'll look up, see if it exists. If it does, grab it. If it doesn't, it'll create it. And so since it's doing that, it's sending a transaction. So you're going to include connection. You don't have to do it this way. If you want to still package your instructions all into one transaction, there is instructions that you can use to like create these token accounts, and you can use RPC requests to look them up. But this is a cool shorthand way I thought I'd show you guys of how you can get or create them. So you want to do that for the recipient, and we are minting too, so there's no sender, right? So we're just going to do that to get the recipient's token account. And then we're going to create the instruction to mint to that token account. And if you notice, the key is like we're minting to the token account, not to the wallet. So this is something to remember when you're setting this up. And once you do that, you send the transaction just like we've done before. And right here is where I'm adding the instruction to disable minting if it's an NFT. So I've got this optional parameter that I'm passing in down here when we do mint our NFT. This is just one demonstration of how you do this. But right here, it's going to create the set authority instruction, and it's going to do mint tokens, set it to null. And that's irreversible. These cannot ever be minted again. The reason why it's irreversible is because you need to, the mint authority needs to sign off on this operation. And once you set the mint authority to null, there is nobody to sign for it. And it's by design so that no one can ever undo like the creation of another NFT, right? Then it wouldn't be NFT. So kind of cool. And then transfer, we're doing the same stuff. We're creating token accounts if we need to. And then we're doing the transfer between the token accounts. So not the wallets, but the token accounts. So let's give this a run, and we'll take a look at some of the outputs there, and we will find them on Solana Explorer. So one thing we're going to see, so DevNet is down, it looks like. So this is probably not going to work the way I want it to. But if I change this to localhost, I'm going to show you guys what I meant about the custom programs. So because the Metaplex program is a program that was created by Metaplex, it does not exist on the local validator. So I want to make sure our configs are set there. So when you run this, you're going to get a problem with trying to create the metadata. See, attempt to load a program that does not exist. However, if you were on DevNet, this would work because it does live on DevNet and Upward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just omit this for now, so we can take a look at some of the output. But if DevNet was up, I would be able to show you guys how like the pictures come up on the Explorer and stuff like that. But you can see here's the output, here's the balance transfers and the mints and stuff like that. And then we can still look up these tokens on Explorer. It's just they're not going to look as pretty. So let's take a look at like our SPL token. And you can see that there's the decimal places being put into play there, right, with the current supply, decimal place of 9. Then here's our NFT. It's just going to come up as a token right now. But once you add the metadata to it, the Explorer would know it's an NFT. So pretty straightforward, guys. And then if we want to take a look at a associated token account as well, this is what they come up as on the Explorer. You can see it's a token account. You can see the mint that it's for, and you can see the wallet that it's for, and then the token balance. So just like I showed you. So that's how you work with tokens. I wish the DevNet was up so I could show you the metadata part, but this right here is how you set that up, and feel free to explore this some more. But